Okay, welcome back. If you've not seen it yet, make sure you go check out the introduction video I've done to this series where I'm going to win myself a whole load of pizza with Portsmouth Football Club. My voice went high then. That's how excited the pizza is making me. Let's have a look at Portsmouth Football Club and see what I can do to win myself the Papa John's Trophy. Maybe League One, that's less important. But let's have a look at Portsmouth Football Club. Media prediction of 8. We'd hoped a bit higher the last few seasons. Sometimes it was first or second, but we've really dropped off the last few years. Of course, in real life, we've just sacked the Cowley brothers and we've just hired in a new manager. I haven't done a transfer update, so some of the transfers might not be right. We've got about 50,000. That's not too bad. We have got a decent sized stadium for League One. It's about 20,000. Once the capacity change is complete, it'll be even more, but that's not going to happen until the end of next season. We've got pretty good training facilities now. They're brand new. They've just bought that. It's one of the investments that the eyes in the company have put into the club. A wage budget of 100,000, which will allow us a little bit to play with. But let's have a look and see what we have at Portsmouth Football Club. Okay, this is the recommended first team. I don't mind this too much. There's a couple of players I might include who aren't shown here. So Curtis, for example, I'm quite a fan of Ronan Curtis. I might put him maybe out on the left-hand side. Karoma, maybe we'll use somewhere else. We've got Bishop and Dane Scarlett up top. Dane Scarlett, of course, in on loan from Spurs. Owen Dale out on the right. Again, a decent player. Pretty quick. He could be useful out there. The defensive midfielders are not too bad. Morrison is getting old, though. We might have to replace Morrison. In real life, we have, in fact, just sold him to Cambridge, I believe, and Sean Radgett is also not that young. Otherwise, it's not a bad team for League One. There are a few areas which we can improve. I quite like Joe Rafferty at right back. There's a few areas we can improve, but we'll have a look at it as we go. We've sent Josh Griffiths back off loan in real life. He wasn't quite cutting it. Obviously, we had Bazuna last year. Boo, traitor. He's gone to Southampton, so we don't have him anymore. Maybe we'll try and get ourselves a goalkeeper and make ourselves pretty strong in goal. I think we've got a good chance, however, in the EFL trophy. Maybe in the league if we're a little bit lucky. Okay, these are the objectives. They want me to reach the playoffs. I think we can reach the playoffs. Be competitive in the EFL trophy. Nope, I am winning the pizza. By the end of next season, win to the championship. We'll see how this series goes. If it goes well, maybe we'll do it. Give this video a like if you want to see more from this series. Develop players using the club's youth system. Our youth system's okay, but it's not known for developing amazing players. There's been a few players that have come through the Portsmouth area, but they tend to end up playing for Southampton. Be a competitive against Southampton if we happen to play against them. That's going to be pretty tough if we do face them in the first season. Competitive against Brighton and Bournemouth. I don't know why those are listed quite so much as rivalries. In fact, Plymouth maybe is a bigger rivalry than Brighton. It's pretty... Southampton's the only one we care about. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make some signings. I will see you at the end of July and I will introduce you to the squad. Okay, so I'm now here at the start of the season. We're about to play Sheffield Wednesday on the first game. They're 22nd, we are 21st, but only because of alphabetical order, thankfully. So we're going to play Sheffield Wednesday first. I'll show you what we're going to run first. This is the tactic we're sort of going to go for. I need to plug in some players here. Let's chuck some in at random for now. So you can see I'm going to try this 4-2-4. This strikerless formation. I've called it Brazil 2. It worked quite well for me this year in a few saves, but it hasn't been as successful as some of my previous tactics. So we're on the fence about it a little bit. It did win me a draft tournament. It's been quite successful in PvP, but I don't know about how it's going to go in the lower leagues of English football. But the idea behind it is you have, it's not far off a typical 4-2-4, just like this. But the idea is that with the shadow strikers here, they start that little bit deeper, and one of them often runs off the other one. Also with one of these guys, either as an inside forward or an inside winger, these guys cut in a little bit, and then these guys can cut around, or they can cut inside, or they'll get forwards, or one of them will drop, and one of them will go in front, and it will cause a pass that'll go behind the defense, cause a little bit of chaos in that defense as well. You've got 4 players running at that back line potentially, or one of them dropping. And the idea is these 2 behind will sort of pick up any balls that come back and can be there to support. We used to have these fullbacks on wing back. We might change that up again in the future. The fullback just offers that little bit of extra defensive stability. They're a little bit better in this year's game as well, fullback. This was based on something I used to run in FM21 and FM22. The FM22 version was a little bit more asymmetrical and used inverted wing backs as well, who would cut inside. But the fullbacks are pretty good this year. No, we don't want any ball-playing defenders necessarily. They might be a bit too chaotic for this. So this is sort of the tactic we're going to go for. And then it sort of gets complemented by some nice set pieces and things like that. Now, I've had a bit of a chaotic time trying to bring players in. There's a big problem down in the lower leagues of English football in that there's a lot of non-EU players. I'll see if I can find you some good examples of some. Sylvain Marveaux is a great example here. He's pretty good for us still. He's maybe a little bit on the slow side, but he's not too bad. 11 acceleration, 12 pace, but we could probably chuck him in the middle as one of those two shadow striker roles, and he'd be pretty solid. You can see he's got some really good mentals and technicals. The trouble is, because he's French, we can't get a work permit for him. Even though he is based in England, he's had his career in Newcastle before. I don't know why he's based in England, but there's quite a lot of these players that are based in England that you just cannot sign. Mirko Valdifiori would be another example. Look at him, he'd be a decent DM in the team. Again, the physicals are dropping off a little bit at 36, but Italian, based in England, but we can't sign him. So these guys are just stuck in England, and there's lots of them. There's so many of them. We tried to bring in so many of them. We could just never sign them. They're not just Europeans either. You know, Shabala was there, the South African. You remember him from the 2010 World Cup where he scored that goal against France, that amazing goal against France. So this has been a bit of a problem. So we managed to bring in only 4 players, 3 of which are on loan. So we've got quite a lot of loan players in because they'd already bought in quite a lot. And one in which we got in on a free, Jordan Graham from Birmingham. I'll show you these guys shortly. We've also had a couple of players go out. In fact, we've made quite a bit of money on the outgoing. So Ryan Tunnicliffe has gone. I didn't see much use for him. You know, he's a decent ball-winning midfielder, but we got quite a bit of money for him, so it wasn't like, I feel like there were other players in the team who are as good as him, and I could have bought in players as good. His determination is good, but he's 29. We can get a replacement for him. Joshua Oluwayemi has gone out on loan, so we don't have to worry about him too much. And the other one is Clark Robertson, who is a left-back. I actually said he'd be a superb signing for the team, but I don't really need another left-back. He's a little bit slow for me for a left-back. He's not the best in terms of his crossing and dribbling, even though he's sort of a no-nonsense fullback. I'd much prefer a fullback who can contribute to that attacking play. You know, vision's not great either. I didn't really feel like I needed him, and I got a fair whack for him, about 71k after the extras. So that's decent. So we got a little bit of money that we had to put into the bank because I think we were over anyway. And we bought in these 4 players. We bought in, I'm going to butcher this name, Catalin Sirjan. We bought him on loan from Arsenal. Now, he looks pretty good. He'll probably be one of those ideal shadow strikers. Decent passing. He's good at penalties, which is good. The vision is good here. He's not too slow. The mentals are good. Good decisions on there. Good dribbling. Good. The finishing is only 12. I wish that'd be a little bit higher, but it's not too bad. Off the ball of 11. I need that one a little bit higher as well. But he's got some all right traits as well. But, you know, we'll see how he develops. If he develops nicely over the year, he could turn out to be really good by the time the year comes to the end as well. 19 to 20, we should see him develop quite a lot, especially if we play him a fair amount. Sammy Braybrook. Now, if you see my video on English Wonder Kids, I'm pretty sure Sammy Braybrook might have been in there. He was certainly in contention for being in there. Here he is, Sammy Braybrook. 15 long shots on this lad. He's, again, another player that I can either use him as one of the DMs or one of the shadow strikers. I've got a bit of a choice there. He's not quite as good at finishing. So maybe with those long shots, I'll probably put him as one of the 2 DMs. He's got 10 tackling, so it's not the worst, but decent vision and passing, and his physicals are not too bad either. Really determined as well, so hopefully he develops nicely over the year. He's only 5'7", so he's a little bit on the short side, but hopefully he picks up some good time. On the right-hand side, oh boy, does this guy... I mean, some of these guys look really young. I might really need to update my face packs, I think. He's 20, apparently. Ben Knight, I put in on loan from Manchester City. This guy is a little bit more pacey. And again, he can cause some problems. 15 off the ball is what I like most about him. He's not quite so good in the passing. And some of his mentals, decisions, composure aren't as great. But I feel like as an inside forward, or maybe even one of the 2 shadow striker roles, he could be threatening. We're going to see if any of these develop nicely. If they start to play really well, then obviously we'll keep playing him. If not, I mean, we've got quite a few options. We did already have, for example, Dane Scarlett, we've got in from Spurs on loan, who's quite useful. We've got Josh Koroma in on loan, for example. In real life, they've sent him back, actually, but he looks all right in game. Maybe his technicals and mentals can be improved a little bit, but he looks all right. The other one brought in on the free is Jordan Graham, 27, an inverted winger. Again, 13 acceleration, 14 pace, so he's not too slow. 11 passing, 12 vision. That could be a little bit higher, but down for League One, it's all right. Good technique, decent flair. Decisions and concentration maybe could be a bit better, but that 15 crossing is really good. 13 first touch is pretty solid. I think the 14 flair is really good. Long shots maybe could be a bit better, but maybe we just don't ask him to take too many long shots. So I think Jordan Graham could be a really good option in on that left, or even on the right hand side. He is right-footed, so we'll probably start him in on the left, because the idea is we start the right-footers on the left and the left-footers on the right, and then they come in and then they're shooting on the feet which go in the right direction. It's been a quite interesting transfer window. We've done all right in the friendlies so far. We lost 2-4 to Manchester City, but I mean that's not a bad result against Manchester City. We only lost 3-2 to Crystal Palace as well, and we drew with Terry Gomez, so I think it's not too bad. We did lose to Millwall right at the start. We did beat Gillingham, but it's not gone too bad. Now, in terms of the team itself, Jay Mingy, I think, is going to be really key. He's actually not that high rated on the stars, but when you look at his attributes, they start to look pretty solid, and I think he's going to improve quite a bit. He's got decent strength. He's 6'2" as well, which is really important as one of those two DMs. I like to have one of them at least quite tall because they can sort of contribute in the corners at both ends of the pitch, and they can contribute in making sure that balls are headed clear and balls aren't kicked over the top of them, which can be a real problem for some of the shorter DMs. Now, the player alongside Mingy is probably going to rotate a little bit. Like I said, we got Sammy Braybrook. We've got a few options. There's Lowry, who is here as well, Tom Lowry. Tom Lowry's not bad. He's got some decent work rate, vision, passing. I think he'll be decent. The only problem is he's not so great at the tackling aspect. So we'd probably look at playing him as the more forward of the two DMs, particularly if we switch up to something more like this. He'll be the more forward of the two out of him and Mingy. But there are other options as well. Marlon Pack is currently injured. He should be back in a couple of weeks. But Marlon Pack is actually the strongest of these players. The only problem with Marlon Pack is, I mean, he's got really good technicals and mentals. He'd be a really good championship player if it were not for his physicals. He's a little bit on the slow side, not the fittest. He's strong. But like, look at that passing, that vision. Like, he's well above a lot of other League One level players. So I think he's out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks. So we should see Marlon Pack back very soon after a couple of games. He'll probably be the one who slots in aside Mingy. I mean, a little bit later in the season, he's on a longer term injury, is Louis Thompson. I don't think he's quite as good as Pack, although his physicals are a little bit, he's a little bit quicker. He's got really good mentals still. Technicals are solid. I think actually Thompson and Pack could be the pair. And Thompson will probably place Mingy if Mingy doesn't push on too much. You know, Mingy's that little bit younger, he can develop quite a bit, but if he doesn't, then Thompson will be back in. And one of the other options is Joe Morrell, you know, a solid box-to-box midfielder. He's pretty average all round, but useful. Now, these shadow striker positions are going to be interesting. So we've got Ben Knight, who we bought in on loan, and we got Sidjan, who we bought in on loan. But there are other options here of players we could use. Of course, Ronan Curtis, I really like in the Pompey team. He can start on the left. He's pretty good all round. I mean, nothing excels at Ronan Curtis, but he's really solid. And when you see him play in the game engine, he always looks pretty good. So he's going to be a pretty useful player. We've got Colby Bishop as well that we could utilize in that shadow striker role. You know, he's not the quickest, but again, decent finisher, some good off the ball and some good movement. He could be quite useful there. And Riso Hackett as well. Riso Hackett's maybe not as good as technically and mentally as the others, but physically, actually, I mean, he's not great, is he? He's 6'3", though. That's the advantage of Riso Hackett. And, you know, he's not too slow. We'll have a think about Riso Hackett. He might be one to sell, depending on how the other players get on. Now, right back and left back, we're pretty solid. They're fine. We've got Swanson and Rafferty in there right now, but Ogilvy can go out here to left back, which is Swanson can play on the right back instead of Rafferty. We've also got Kieran Freeman. So there's plenty of options in those positions. The centre-back positions are interesting because we have Morrison, who is probably our best centre-back by a long way. Michael Morrison here. 6 foot, jumping for 14, heading 15, marking 14, tackling 15, positioning 15. Like, he's just a little bit slow, but he's solid for a League One centre back. You can see here Ogilvy is a little bit. He can't jump quite so high, and his marking and tackling is not as great. His position is not so great. He's a better all-round player. Like, you can see, he can actually play on that left back or that right back position as well. You know, and playing in left back, he's got decent crossing and dribbling. In fact, he's probably better suited to being a left back than a centre back. But he's there as an option for centre back. The other option is Sean Radgett, and he's, again, a little bit on the slow side, but he's 6'5" with a heading of 15 and a jumping reach of 17. Now, if I get him and Morrison paired up in the box at the other end of the pitch, we could hopefully see some set-piece goals from corners and things like that. So that's, fingers crossed, we can sort of get them onto some set pieces. So that's sort of how the squad is looking at the minute. So we're going to play some games. We're going to play through up until the first of the Papa John's fixtures. I'll give you the highlights of each of these matches. And we'll play that first Papa John's Cup fixture, and hopefully we can get ourselves on the way to getting some nice free pizza. Of course, the transfer window is also still open. It is open for another month, I believe. So then there might be some more transfers that come in and go as we go. So this first match is going to be against Sheffield Wednesday. Here is how it went. So this first match was a solid 3-0 win over against Sheffield Wednesday. You can see here, Sidjan goes all the way to the byline, cuts back to Rafferty, a nice ball in, and it gets cleared only as far as Lowry. He cuts back, cross to Mingy, lovely ball through. Karoma slots it past the keeper, 1-0. We then had a goal disallowed. You can see here, Sidjan wins it. Knight cuts past his player. He puts it forward to Dale. Dale heads across to Karoma. It looked like that should have been a penalty, but it wasn't. Karoma gets that lovely ball over the top, and it's tucked in. It's such a great touchdown and finish as well. It's a shame that this is ruled offside, but Karoma was offside on that one. Later on, we get a corner. Lowry with the corner, and this is what I was on about with the corners. It didn't quite fall to Morrison or Ranjit in that one, and Dale hits it, and what a hit that is. 2-0, 81st minute. And then in the 91st minute now, Bishop picks it up across to Sirjan, and what a lovely ball back to Bishop, and he just slots it past the keeper. 3-0, it's a great start, and that's sort of how I want that 4-2-4 to play, and you can see how much we managed to actually dominate Sheffield Wednesday here. I mean, the XG doesn't quite show a 3-0 domination, but well, I mean, when you count that offside goal as well, it starts to look pretty good. That second goal didn't go down as an own Dale goal, by the way. It went down as a Deli Bashiru own goal. I think it took deflection on the way in. So we've just had our Papa John's Trophy draw, and the three teams that we've got Cambridge, Crawley and Crystal Palace. I mean, is that alphabetical? Cambridge, Crawley and Crystal Palace. We've got Cambridge, Crawley and Crystal Palace under 21. So we got Cambridge from League 1. In fact, I think we were playing them in a couple of games' time. And there are Crawley from League 2, and then Crystal Palace under 21s. We should be able to beat Crystal Palace. I don't know. I imagine they've got quite a good youth team, but yeah, fingers crossed we can win that. So in terms of the other matches we're going to cover today, we've got Lincoln, Oxford, Cheltenham, Cambridge. There's that Cambridge, that's the League 1 match. Bristol Rovers, Port Vale, and then we've got Crawley in the first of the EFL Trophy matches, the pizza matches. So we're going to go up until the end of September, which I think is also when we will see the transfer window shut. So the match against Lincoln was another match we absolutely dominated, but it was only capped off by this goal. A nice ball in from Dale, McGurk, and Rushworth got a hand to it, but it just about sneaks over the top of his head. We won that one 1-0, but you can see we probably were in control of that match. And again, McGurk had a good game that one. McGurk, by the way, is another player that I just brought in on loan from Leeds. We got him in the last couple of games. I just realised I didn't show him at the start because we brought him in after that, after the first game of the season. But yeah, he looks good. He looks really good. Acceleration 15, pace 13. I mean, his finishing could be a little bit better, but I think he could progress really, really nicely. We were FM'd a little bit in the EFL Cup, 83rd minute. Oxford did this to us, despite this was their only shot on target, by the way. Griffiths should have got a better hand to that, but Matty Taylor, not the Matty Taylor formerly of Portsmouth. Oh, the other thing about this Oxford match, by the way, did you see the assist maker? The assist maker right here, John Musini. What's he doing there? He's supposed to be the Pompey manager. Well, maybe I took his job. So yeah, our own manager starting up the play for the Matty Taylor goal against Portsmouth. And then things took a bit of a downward turn. We drew 1-1 with Cheltenham. Freestone of this free kick, bad. But then we got a late penalty. Curtis put it away. We probably should have done much better in this game. The XG was in our favour a little bit. And you can see we had a lot of possession in the game. The chances were pretty even, though. A draw might be a fair reflection on that match. But again, it's an annoying result. And then we managed to get a draw with Cambridge, 0-0. There wasn't much to talk about in this match at all. Of course, Cambridge we're going to have to beat in the trophy if we want to win ourselves some pizza or a trip to the final. But yeah, this is a bit of a bad result, 0-0. And it means we're still unbeaten, but we've dropped quite a few points in the league now. We're dropping a little bit behind some of the leaders in the league. Picking up too many draws, a bit like real life Pompey. And there were no real highlights to this match. So yeah, it was a bit of a boring 0-0 affair. You can see it just played end-to-end football. And then came the first league defeat of the season. Completely outplayed by Bristol Rovers in this match. We nearly kept that out there, but it's put away by Finley. 1-0. They probably deserved a bit more of that. We had one shot on target. We had 8 shots, 1 on target in that whole game. It wasn't a great game by either team, but yeah, it's not looking good. So I was thinking about changing the tactic. I thought we'll give it a couple more games. We'll give it this game against Port Vale, see how it does. McGurk here, 1-0, 12 minutes in, and we're off. So maybe we don't need to get rid of it. But they do get a quick equaliser right here. Just sneaks it in near post. Forrester. Marlon Pack with the penalty straight down the middle, smashes it. 2-1 right after half-time. 61st minute, Karoma down the wing, and he cuts it back. Jay Mingy, look at that for a volley. That is an outstanding volley. And we're now 3-1 up. We're cruising now. Freeman, lovely ball over the top. Riso Hackett with that little bit of extra height. And McGurk gets in there again. And what a finish that is across the face of the goal. McGurk with 2 goals for the game. And then I think McGurk might be the one we're going to have to start in this position. Because when we started him, he's been scoring goals. And that is almost identical to the last goal. That was a different highlight, by the way. It was not the same one as before. And we won that match 5-1. McGurk on a 9.6. Dale, Knight, Karoma, Mingy, Pack, all of them with fantastic ratings in that match. I think that was a really good match for us against Port Vale. The only other player we've brought in so far, just before the end of the video, is Hubert Krasic, who we brought in as a lone goalkeeper. We're not really using him though, so we might send him back. We've of course got Josh Griffiths in on loan as well as a goalkeeper. He's loaned in real life. In fact, in real life, they've sent him back to West Brom. But yeah, we've got another lone goalkeeper in. I am after a couple more players on the final day of the season. We're going for a loan for Charlie Savage. We've been getting him in. I think he'll be really useful. We'll probably replace Jay Mingy in the midfield there. Obviously Robbie Savage's son, 19. Jamie Bowden as well, another useful player. I'd rather have Charlie Savage, but I think he's going to be really good as well. Again, he can be useful. He could come in on loan from Spurs. These guys don't want any money for it. And Jake Garrett is the other one. I think, look at this, 16 tackling on this lad. Again, I don't think he's quite as good as, he's not as all-round as Charlie Savage, but he could be useful. He come in on loan from Blackburn. People putting in bids for Jay Mingy, by the way. I don't know why, but we want to keep Jay Mingy for now. So this is the first trophy match. It's against Crawley. We just missed that header very early on, 13th minute. You can see the final score there up to the top if you're eagle-eyed, but maybe I should block it up or something. I'm going to block it up so you can't quite see. No spoilers. But yeah, this was an interesting game. Crawley are the League 2 team, by the way. We should really be beating them. Sean Radgett here, we're picking up the ball nicely. This is almost on half time. We've only really had the one main chance. Owen Dale has been all right out on that wing. He was surprisingly unfortunate here. Balcom, what a save that is for Crawley. And again on the corner here, Lowry with the corner. We just want to get onto one of those big guys' head. Zach gets out. Sijan is outside the box. And that is an awful tackle as well. Ogilvy with the free kick just hits the wall. We're getting a little flurry of chances right before half time. A corner. Lowry to take the corner. We just need to get it on someone like Marlon Pack's head. We'll be good. Sean Radgett's head will do. And he's headed it over though. We're just not getting anywhere here. And it's the 72nd minute. Crawley are on the ball. Most of this match has been us, but we haven't been great. We haven't created many chances. Crawley haven't had any chance of anything. And Balzaghi just put it in. We were lucky not to give away a penalty, but then it just rolled through. And Telford has absolutely smashed that in. And 1-0 to Crawley. And that's not the result we need if we're going to win ourselves some free pizza. I can see that Papa John's logo in the background as well. Get me the pizza. Get me the pizza. Look at this. Jenks. Oh, they hit the bar as well. A late chance here. Curtis, 80th minute. Ronan Curtis, come on. Oh, so close. And that was it. I lost that 1-0. XG of 1.26. They had an XG of 0.48. XG is not goals. I love looking at my XG numbers, but they don't mean goals. They should mean goals, sort of, but yeah. It's not a great performance by the team. You can see it was a little bit of a rotated team as well, which might have been a mistake. You see Lowry and Braybrook as the two DMs. Those two wouldn't normally be my two DMs. But the front line and the back line are pretty much as they would be. So that's something I've got to think about and improve on. And we're in big trouble. I'm not winning any pizza right now unless we can turn this around. I've now got to go and beat Cambridge. We were all over Cambridge in the draw. So I think we can beat Cambridge. So then if we can get out the group off the back of that, then hopefully we can get ourselves some pizza. Oh, just to give you an update, Charlie Savage did not come in, by the way. Jake Garrett and Jamie Bowden did. We also brought in two others. So Mika Hamilton has just come in from Manchester City on the left-hand side there. I don't know if he's going to be good enough, but we'll see. Some of these 18-year-olds could progress quite nicely. And Matty Pollock, a really good centre-back, actually. I think he's probably as good as the other two. So I'm pretty happy with Matty Pollock coming in. He's only 20. Again, could be a little bit quicker. He's 6'3", jumping reach 15, heading 15. I think that's a good centre-back to bring in. I'm not fully convinced with the squad. I'm not fully convinced with the tactic. We might have to have a little play around with it. Maybe an alternative version of the tactic for when the tactic's not working. Perhaps push one player further up. Do you know what? I've not really used Colby Bishop so far. He's been injured. But I think I need to be making more use of Colby Bishop. And I really have liked how... I haven't really liked how Sijan started. But I have really liked... Oh, I can't even find him now. Sean McGurk. When Sean McGurk has played, he's looked great. 4 games, 4 goals, 7.5 XG. I think he'll be good. He did play in that Carabao Cup game and didn't do so well. But and he only came in as a sub in the Papa John's. But I think Sean McGurk could be the one who's going to fire me to pizza. Now I'm going to link you the whole series here if you've not watched the other videos in the series. If you want to go back and watch the history of Portsmouth Football Club video that sets out what this save is and why I'm doing it, if you just jumped in on this video for some reason, that is there. Otherwise, it'll take you to the next episode when that is out as well.